This is sports handicapper Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, ready to break down the MLB overnight lines for the games taking place on Saturday, May 21st. It's actually a long holiday weekend here in Canada where I live. It's Victoria Day weekend, an annual holiday weekend. Of course, our friends in the United States have Memorial Day coming up. The long weekend for them is next weekend. For us in Canada, though, it's this weekend. But doesn't matter if it's a holiday weekend. I'm still here putting in the time, looking to find some winners on the baseball board this weekend, including on Saturday. And like a famous Canadian band, Loverboy, once said back in the 80s, everybody's working for the weekend. Everybody wants to cash some bets. And that's why we're all here. We want to cash some bets. So that's what we'll look to do on the Saturday, May 21st baseball slate. So let's take a look first with Seattle taking on Cincinnati in an interleague matchup. Felix Hernandez taking the mound for the Seattle Mariners. And yes, he is well respected in the betting markets, and it's obvious with Seattle, a minus 165, minus 170 road favorite in this game. But he's definitely shown cracks in his armor. I know he's been dominant for upwards of a decade as one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, but this season he has a 4.42 ERA in his last three starts overall. On the road, he's allowed 15 runs on 22 hits, along with 3 home runs, 13 walks to 15 strikeouts, and 22 innings pitched on the road this season. They're not horrendous numbers for Felix Hernandez away from home, but they aren't all that great either. And the fact that he's been troubled at times by the long ball doesn't exactly make him a great fit right now for Great American Ballpark here in Cincinnati, which is certainly a home run hitting park. So I think Cincinnati's offense might be able to at least touch up King Felix here for at least a few runs in this game. On the flip side, you got John Lamb, the Reds lefty, making another spot start for Cincinnati, and he's been battling a thumb injury now for a couple of weeks, and that tells you how desperate Cincinnati is from a starting pitching perspective. They'd rather throw this guy out there with a wonky thumb rather than do anything else in terms of giving other guy a look in their starting rotation. And we saw the effects potentially of that injury in his last start against the Indians. He couldn't throw his curveball or his changeup. He was limited to basically his fastball and his cutter. Cleveland knew it was coming, and Lamb ended up getting smacked around by Cleveland for 7 runs on 10 hits and 4 innings of work in that last outing against the Indians. Now, Lamb said after the game that he insisted the thumb had nothing to do with his struggles. I beg to differ. I mean, you don't have that kind of issue, especially on your throwing end, if it doesn't affect you to at least some extent. So to me, John Lamb is very suspect here against a Seattle lineup that's in great form. I mean, this Seattle offense, they've scored 49 runs in their last 9 games, 6-2-1 to the over in those 9 games. Lamb has not pitched more than 6 innings in any of his 3 starts and has lasted just 4 innings in his last 2 starts. So what does that mean? That means we get to see our good old friends again. I'm talking about the Cincinnati bullpen. They've been my friends this year, that's for sure, because they've been cashing a lot of overs for me, a lot of bets against them in the second half of games this year when I bet the other team because that bullpen is so bad. Still ranked dead last in Major League Baseball in bullpen ERA is Cincinnati. They're likely going to be in this game quite a bit because I don't think John Lamb is pitching deep. So a chance for Seattle to not only score runs early against Lamb, but also score runs late against this horrendous Cincinnati bullpen. I understand why this total is sitting at 8. It's the King Felix factor. He's always going to be priced more expensive in the betting markets. The totals are always going to be a bit lower with him on the mound just because of the reputation that King Felix Hernandez carries. But to me right now, with the way Cincinnati's offense is performing, with the way their starting pitching is struggling, and with the way their bullpen has been giving up runs in bunches late in games, I don't care who's pitching on the other side. No Cincinnati game right now is any business being totaled as low as 8 right now. None. 0. I mean, not with the issues they have specifically with their starting and bullpen pitching. So I think we got a little bit of a bargain here to play this game up and over the total of 8, and that's the way I'll look between Seattle and Cincinnati on Saturday afternoon. Another interesting matchup, Texas and Houston. Cesar Ramos on the mound for Texas. He's not much more than a spot starter, capable of throwing 5 or 6 innings tops. He's a journeyman pitcher. He's been with 3 teams prior to joining Texas since 2009. He's been very mediocre in his 2 spot starts in this Texas rotation. 16 hits allowed and 10.1 innings of work against Toronto and the New York Yankees. That tells you he's been very hittable. He's not likely to pitch deep, and the Texas bullpen's been another disappointing bullpen this year. Not as bad as Cincinnati's, but still not very good either. So Houston should be able to score some runs early and late in this game and be able to do some damage. On the flip side, Mike Fiers gets the start for Houston, and he's seen a decline in his performance so far this season. Not surprising because, as good as Mike Fiers was last season, a lot of his success was guile, craftiness, and just trying to, keep the ball in the park as best he can. He's not really a guy that's a flamethrower, and it looks like teams are starting to catch up with him because his swinging strike rate has gone down, his strikeouts per 9 innings have gone down, and the percentage of hard hit balls against him from opposing hitters has gone up. So he's giving up stronger contact. He's not getting as many swings and misses, Mike Fiers. So the result for him has been a tough start to the season. 4.63 ERA overall, 4.40 ERA here at Minute Maid Park, and he surrendered 5 home runs in his 28.2 innings pitched here in Houston. So that could be trouble against a Texas lineup that has some home run power, particularly in the middle of their lineup. I think at the total sitting at 9 right now in this game, it's worth a look toward the over in this game. I definitely could see some runs scored in bunches. 2, suspect starters, 2, mediocre bullpens. Probably a decent chance we get over the total of 9 runs in that game between Texas and Houston on Saturday. Other than that, it's not the best Saturday baseball card I've seen in terms of tremendous betting opportunities. And, I just don't feel comfortable throwing a ton of leans and recommendations out there willy-nilly if I don't have a strong conviction behind them. I mean, especially in a sport like baseball, you just can't bet the board and fire away. You've got to be disciplined. You got to be responsible, and you got to pick your spots. Otherwise, you're going to have your bankroll crushed, especially in a sport like baseball, which is a grind every single day for about 6 months. So, you just got to, take what you can get. And unfortunately, there's a lot of large favorites on Saturday, a lot of games that are priced just about right, in my opinion. Quick hitters, Arizona, St. Louis, Seattle. Or not Seattle, St. Louis with Mike Leake on the mound, -140, -145 favorite. We talked about the Enterprise Rent-A-Car ad yesterday, and for Mike Leake here, in terms of supporting him at home, it definitely sounds expensive. It does, no question about it, especially when you look at Mike Leake's numbers at home here at Busch Stadium. Mike Leake has not pitched great in 4 home starts, 5.76 ERA, 17 runs on 23 hits and 25 innings of work. Definitely not great numbers for a guy that's being commanded to lay almost 50 cents here at home. And on the flip side, Robbie Ray is an Arizona lefty that I think has some upside, has some potential. He's had some bumps in the road, a couple rough starts, but settled down and was much better in his last outing against the New York Yankees, allowed just 2 runs in 7 strong innings. On the road, his numbers are pretty good, 2.82 ERA, 7 earned runs allowed, and 22.1 innings of work away from home. So that's pretty good numbers away from home overall for Robbie Ray. And it's worth noting St. Louis as a team offensively, their lineup hasn't hit as well against the left-handed side. Cardinals just batting .234 as a team against lefties and averaging 4.38 runs per game. Those are numbers that aren't as good for St. Louis as they are when their lineup is turned around against right-handed pitchers. So, maybe Arizona's an underdog and maybe over the total. Are ways I would lean in that game. And Cleveland and Boston's an interesting game to just quickly bring up. I don't have a strong opinion on this game, side or total, but just a couple elements worth talking about. Trevor Bauer faces Joe Kelly in this game. Joe Kelly's making his return from the DL. He's been out for about a month from the Boston Red Sox rotation. He was really struggling and ready to really struggled since joining Boston last year as well, and it carried over into this year. He had some right shoulder problems, which landed him on the DL back on April the 20th, and now he's ready to return to the Red Sox rotation to make this start on Saturday. And the reports that I've read out of Boston seem to indicate that Joe Kelly threw the ball well down in AAA with Pawtucket. His most recent start down in AAA came on Monday through 6.1 innings of scoreless baseball, allowing just 5 hits, 1 walk, while striking out 10. So pretty good numbers for Joe Kelly, but again, I've got to be able to see him do it at the major league level before I even consider backing him from a betting perspective. It's fine and dandy to do that at AAA Pawtucket. Let's see you do it now at Fenway Park. Tough place to pitch in against a Cleveland lineup that's really been hitting the ball very well as of late. So this is a big time sit back, watch, and observe kind of game for me with Joe Kelly. What do we get from him? Is he the same old disappointment that he's been since joining the Red Sox, where he's really struggled and not been able to put things together? Or is the strong results that he posted down in AAA prior to his call-up here and return from the DL, are those strong numbers a sign that maybe this guy is finally ready to turn a corner and pitch better here at the major league level? We'll find out on Saturday. He'll be up against Trevor Bauer, and that guy remains an enigma to me. I mean, Trevor Bauer is a guy that's got capability, he's got potential, but he's had a lot of trouble harnessing it. Walks have been an issue in the past, home runs have been an issue in the past. That being said, Trevor Bauer has allowed 3 runs or less in all 4 of his starts since he's rejoined the Cleveland Indians rotation. So some positive signs from Trevor Bauer so far this season. 14 walks, 37 strikeouts in 34 innings pitched this season. So he's getting a lot of swings and misses. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares here against a red-hot Boston lineup at Fenway Park, which is a tough place to pitch in. Trevor Bauer's numbers against Boston, he did start once here in Boston last year at Fenway, gave up 5 runs and lasted just 1.2 innings, so it doesn't exactly give you a lot of confidence for him here, but right now in good current form, so it'll be interesting to see how Trevor Bauer fares at Fenway Park in Boston. Again, I didn't really get involved from a betting perspective in this game, but worth talking about because Trevor Bauer, if he pitches well here, maybe a guy that you can bet on moving forward, and if Joe Kelly can come back from AAA and rejoin this Red Sox rotation and pitch well here for them against Cleveland, maybe it's a sign Joe Kelly, after a lot of struggles here in Boston, is finally ready to turn the corner and get things going in a positive direction. So that's going to do it for the MLB Overnight Line segment, taking a look at the games for Saturday, May 21st. I'm sports handicapper Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. As always, check out the website sportsbookreview.com for all the latest live odds and daily videos and articles to help you be a successful sports bettor. Until next time, I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy the games and good luck.